the UP fair, man. Breathe that freezing air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Hi, this is Jim Islip with MSU Extension, and this is What's Up at Uprec on December 15, 2020. Today we'll visit with the crew here at Chatham as they draw blood samples to check the beef herd for pregnancy.
We artificial inseminated the cows, and we did that 32 days ago. This blood test, it measures a pregnancy-specific protein, and it can pick up that protein at 28 days in pregnancy. Since we artificial inseminate just once to a time AI, we turn the bulls in 10 days later. So by pulling this blood sample at day 32, that means if they got exposed and bred to a bull when he first went in, that pregnancy is at 22 days, and we won't be able to determine a pregnancy at that stage. So what this does for us at 32 days, all it's going to do is tell us who was pregnant to the artificial insemination. And then in the spring, we'll do another pregnancy test and pull bloods on the whole herd again, and that will include the bull breds and the AI bred. This blood sample is very accurate. If they are pregnant, there can be some false positives because there can still be some remaining protein in their blood system from the previous pregnancy. So anything less than 72 days can be suspect to this pregnancy test.
I guess we bring the cattle in here and they're pretty noisy in the morning. You can hardly hear yourself, so. Then we put them in some pens outside there, or in the edge there. Then we bring like 20 of them out, or what's easy to work, that go easily. Then we push them up here and shut the gates behind them, up into the head chute. So we keep one in the barn for them to work on, to take blood on or preg checks or whatever. The easier you bring them in, the better. It works a lot easier.
So we're here, we're pulling bloods. We've got some done already. So this is a vacuum tube. This is a vacuum tube that we've already pulled the blood on for a cow. So we pull the blood and then we write her ID number on the tube. And how we do that, these are called vacutainers. So they got vacuum in them. And we have found that in the wintertime, if those tubes get really cold, they lose their vacuum. So we actually got a heating pad here. I keep the tubes in the heating pad to keep them warm. So when we get ready to take a sample, I just pull the tube out. This is just a blank tube. This is a red top, what's called a red top tube. So in these red top tubes, the blood will clot. And if you allow the blood to clot, then you get serum. If you have a different tube that has an anticoagulant in it, when you spin them down, that's when you get plasma. So we want the serum, so we want this tube to clot. So we use a red top tube. So we have the tube, and then we have what's called a needle holder. And then we have this needle that it's double-ended. So we can take that needle and screw it into the tube, into the needle holder. And we got our needle, and we get ready to bleed, we pull the tip off. Insert the needle. The blood tube, vacuum tube goes into the needle holder. So we got the cow restrained in the head gate, the paper towel. So we just lift the tail up. Got a paper towel to wipe off any manure or debris that may be there. And then we're looking for, we need to go right into the center of the tail. If you go right directly into the center, you're going to hit the vein. That vein runs right down the center of the tail. So we feel for a spot between the vertebrae. Then if we go right in the middle, push it all the way in, put the tube on. Sometimes you miss. You got to maneuver it a little bit to get your blood. Pull it out. There we have a tube of blood. The other thing we do at this time, it's December 15th, we're coming into winter and where lice can be a problem. So we have a concoction that we dust the cows with. It's diatomaceous earth and sulfur. How that works is we just dust that right down their center line of their back, and as the lice crawl around on the cow, they get cut up by the diatomaceous earth because it's real sharp particles, and it actually cuts the lice, and then the sulfur can get into their system and it kills the lice. And we do that now, and we'll probably do that one more time during the winter to help control lice.
Okay, well here we are. We've got our blood samples collected and we're back at the office and ready to get these samples packaged up and off to the lab. We actually use the bioprin. We go to a lab in Wisconsin, a veterinary clinic down there that will do this for their producers. And this is their sample submission form, and we just put our information on there. And then they've got an instruction here on how to label the tube. So if you can see, we've got the blood tube. The 1422 would correspond to the cow ID number, and then we put a number up on the top of the tube consecutively starting with the first tube. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Then they want to know the approximate days bred. And since we AI'd everybody on 2 days, we had like 31, 32 days post-breeding. And then they'll run the sample. When we look at this, test after minimum days post-breeding, we want to be at least 28 days. And we also want to be 73 days post-calving. We package them up. They'll have some instructions on how to package them. We do quite a few. We do 100 head at a time. And so I just get our own tubes, buy our own tubes and needles and so forth. If I use FedEx and we overnight them to Wisconsin so they get there pretty quick. And if I send them in on Wednesday, I'll have the results by Friday. And this is the result report. Down here, tube 1 was D625. And it says the response in the test was 0.438. And if we look up at the top, if it's less than 0.135, they're open. If it's between 0.135 and 0.21, they're a recheck, and anything over 0.21 is pregnant. So they list all the cows down, and you can see all the pregnant ones. There's an open, there's an open, there's an open. Keep in mind that we still have the bulls with these cows, and we will do another pregs check in the spring. We sampled 101 cows. We had 63 of those confirmed pregnant. Pretty happy with that result. When we do a timed AI, like in the summertime, best you're going to do is like 50 to 55%. So 63 is right in our range, and we're happy with that.
That's what's up at Uprec. Hope to see you again next time.
Well, I'm so glad I'm living in the old UP. Yes, I'm so